1. And we're live. Happy Halloween, everybody, and welcome to the 21st episode of the FilmBrony podcast. I am, of course, your host under this management, Nick Canino, and want to wish you all once again a happy Halloween. And as always, I'm not here alone. I have a guest with me who started this whole podcast. So, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, as you may know, I'm Soren The FilmBrony, and we got a lot to cover today.
Yes, indeed, we do.
We have a lot of movie reviews to take over, both old and new. We have the ranking of one of the greatest directors working today, and we're going to go over the top 15 films of 2012. Oh, and a bit of movie news involving a physical media studio.
Yeah. So, as always, we like to start with how we usually start the broadcast with a Blu-ray pickup.
All right, let's do this. 40-year-old version.
Nice.
American Graffiti.
That's a classic.
The Apartment.
That's also a classic.
Babel.
Great movie.
Backdraft.
That's also a great movie.
Batman the 60s movie.
Nice.
Being John Malkovich. The Birdcage.
Those two are great movies, by the way.
Blinded by the Light.
Great movie. Very overlooked.
The movie that people claim Coco ripped off, The Book of Life.
I like that movie.
And speaking of ripping off Coco.
I love that movie as well.
Cruella in this Target exclusive edition.
Nice.
Devil's Backbone.
That's a classic too.
Dodgeball.
Very funny film.
The Farewell in this pretty rare consideration slip.
Nice.
Funny People.
Very underrated.
Fury.
Great movie too.
Grapes of Wrath.
Nice.
The Hustler. Hustlers.
Nice.
Inside Man.
Nice.
Isn't it romantic?
Very surprising film.
Kramer v. Kramer.
That's a classic.
Last King of Scotland.
That's a great movie.
Lord of War. Macbeth with Michael Fassbender. Michael Clayton. Next is what I like to call the reconnaissance trilogy. Mud, Lincoln Lawyer, and Killer Joe. My Left Foot.
That's a classic. I own that film. I own the VHS of that film.
Personal Shopper.
Great movie. Personal Shopper.
The Pianist.
That's a classic.
Platoon.
A classic as well.
Pride and Prejudice.
Nice.
The Producers.
Nice.
A Quiet Place 2.
That's a great movie. And I love that cover art.
Reds.
Nice.
A Separation.
That's one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life.
The Spirit 2018.
Nice.
Syriana. That Thing You Do. Transformers, the original animated movie. And last but not least, Jonah Vegetables movies.
Nice. I have a couple of. I only have two Blu-rays I picked up. Yes, I decided that from now on I'm joining the Blu-ray craze. I'm joining the Blu-ray thing, and I actually picked up three Blu-rays. One I got for my birthday, and then two I got recently. For the one I got for my birthday, my favorite film of last year, Nomadland.
That's a great movie.
It
That's my
is.
second favorite behind Sound of Metal.
Sound of Metal was fantastic. Definitely deserving to be like in one of the best films of the year for sure. Then one of my favorite musicals, In the Heights.
Fantastic film.
It is. And one of the best movies I've seen this year, The Green Knight.
That is a phenomenal movie.
It is a phenomenal movie. You and I had it as our number one film of the summer.
All right,
So
that's our Blu-ray Showcase.
Yep.
And as for our first movie review, it's Cry Macho. And this movie was okay. It tries to be the next Gran Torino in the Western setting, but it comes nowhere near it. Well, Clint Eastwood is his root tour as a character, and he continues to shine as a director with the cinematography and musical score. The rest of the characters are bland, and it suffers from a lot of action/western cliches. So I'd say either see it or don't see it. 6 out of 10.
I liked it, but for me, I liked it, but I agree with Soren that that the tone at times could feel a bit inconsistent, and the script is also a mess too, since some of the dialogue comes up as being like clunky and cheesy, and the characterization I felt could have been a lot better. And it does go for those cliches that we've seen in other films before, and it does suffer through a couple pacing issues here and there. But the acting is good. I found the story to be engaging throughout. The directing was good, and the music is good. The cinematography is great. The editing was decent, and when it comes down to it, I just found Cry Macho to be not great, but just an overall solid film. I give it a 7 out of 10. Oh, Nicholas Lee had this. Let me highlight this. Credit to Mike. This show is now able to drink number 21.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. That's a good one, Nick.
And our next movie review is CopShop. And this was a decent action fun run. Well, it does take a while to get going at times, and the premise is nowhere near groundbreaking. The characters are fun to watch, especially the three leads. The writing and dialogue is entertaining, and the action is thrilling and brutal. So nothing extraordinary, but good fun. 7 out of 10.
For me, I really like this movie. This is one of those movies where I didn't know what to expect going in. I had little expectations for it. I had little expectations for this one. But when I saw this movie, I really dug the hell out of this film. I found the story to be engaging. The tone is consistent. Joe Carnahan did a very good job with the directing. The script is good. The acting is great. Gerard Butler is great here. The other actor, the other actor. Let me look this up really quick because I keep forgetting like some actors. But he's the guy that is thrown in there in jail along with Gerard Butler. It'll come up. Just give me a second. Frank Grillo. There we go. Okay, so I the acting is great, including one from Gerard Butler and Frank Grillo. The action's fun. It's decently edited. The cinematography is great, and I really like the action in this movie. My only issues I did have with the film is that it does suffer through some pacing issues in the first half of the film, but it does get going very well once the second half of the film kicks in. And okay, never mind what I said about the editing, because there are some Oh yeah, and I also felt the script could have been a lot better too with the characterization. But despite that, I like this. I really like CopShop a lot. 8 out of 10.
So I saw our next movie review.
Oh no!
Look, I'm just gonna say it. Dear Evan Hansen is a terrible movie in everything and accomplishes to do. It fails as a musical, it fails as an emotional drama, and it fails as an Oscar bait adaptation of a beloved Broadway play. How you may ask? First of all, the story. I haven't seen the original musical this is based on, but I'm sure it handled its scenes way better than this movie. Evan is lonely and socially awkward, and after he has a crush on the sister of his classmate Connor, has one close interaction with Connor, and finds out that he went on to kill himself. He lies about a letter he wrote just for self-reflection, and says he was 10 pounds with the late Connor, thus leading to this anti-suicide campaign, which feels more manipulative than anything. But Evan feels kind of bad that his simple white lie turned out to be bigger than before. So will the truth come out? And will his new friendship stay strong? Well, what do you think? I wouldn't mind so much, except Evan doesn't get called out on his script once throughout the runtime. Hell, the song Good For You, whose purpose is...
They cut that out of the film! Like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah, the song's purpose is solely to call him out. And it's been cut out just so that it would be a more personal story, and we were feeling more sorry for Evan. Well, guess what? It didn't work.
Nope.
And not to be on the divorce, but why is the 40-year-old thing doing playing the teenage Evan?
That doesn't make any sense. I don't like jumping on the bandwagon either, but I'm gonna have to with this one. Look, I don't blame... Look, I'm pretty sure Ben Platt is a very talented actor, but he was horribly miscast in this movie.
Yeah, he was. I mean, I get that he won a Tony when he played him in the musical. But it's apparent that he's done way older since the show flows. And the makeup he wears just makes him look less like a teenager and more like Jacob Tremblay in Wonder. Not that his acting or singing is any better. Not only does he constantly get us confused like, what the hell am I doing here? But his singing is so bad.
Oh my god, his singing is so bad. Especially with the voice cracks he puts in some songs. Dear God.
And the songs that they do keep are still well written. But they're severely butchered by vocals that make Russell Crowe sound like Josh Groban.
Yeah, really.
And despite the fact that Amy Addams and Julianne Moore are trying with the craft scripts they're given, the rest of the cast is so mediocre. Though none of them hold a candle to Platt's grassy worthy performance. Plus, there's something about the lighting that seems so unremarkable. Not to mention the editing is all over the place.
Oh, it's all over the place. Like there were times where it was so poorly edited and it cuts like back and forth in some scenes where you can't even tell what the hell is even going on.
Plus, when this movie isn't insulting your intelligence or damaging your eardrums with the awkward singing, it's just so boring.
It is boring.
I couldn't tell you how many times I looked at my watch. Like, this was 2 hours 15. It felt more like 4 hours. Oh, and by the way, spoilers, but who cares? This movie sucks. You shouldn't see it.
You should not see it.
At the very end, when Evan finally confesses his life, I just felt nothing. Something about it seems so lifeless and automatic. And right afterwards, when he starts his journey to finally ask around to finally get to know Connor, the movie just stops. I'm not kidding. When the credits starts to roll, I was like, that's it? That's how it ends? Jeez, I had a more emotional ending when I lost my corn purse the other day. So yeah, that's just a few of the reasons why this movie is a cinematic failure. It's stupid, manipulative, boring, and just makes you want to watch Shark Tale again, since it legit did the storyline a million times better. If you want more information, go watch Citro's Productions rant of this movie. Screw this movie to hell, 2 out of 10.
I rarely give films... Give me a second because I'm going to put on a sound clip to describe my feelings towards the film. But let me tell you, it is not pretty at all. I agree with everything. Hold on. Give me a moment.
And yeah, Nicholas Lee, it's just quite baffling. How did the director go from parts of being a wallflower to this disaster?
Yeah, really. This is one of the worst musicals I've ever seen in my life. I'm not joking when I say this. This is one of the worst musicals I've ever seen in my life. I did not find one song in the film memorable. I wasn't a fan of The Greatest Showman, but at least that film had a great soundtrack in it. There was not one single song in Dear Evan Hansen that was memorable at all. Not one song. And that's a real shame because I know these two who did the songs for La La Land are very talented songwriters, so I don't know what the hell happened here. The script is terrible. This is one of the worst written films I've seen this entire year due to how terrible the dialogue is and how terrible the characterization is, especially Evan Hansen. This is one of the worst characters I've ever seen put to film this entire year. I am telling you. His portrayal of mental illness in the film infuriated the shit out of me, especially since I've been suffering through depression for like 2 years, and this movie angered me with how it portrayed mental illness, and how it portrayed like suicide too, which also infuriated me so much. Okay, I know Eddie has this question. Is it worse than Cats, Justin to Kelly, Glitter, the 2014 Annie, and Grease 2? I still think Cats is worse. And I still think From Justin to Kelly is a bit worse. But it does make Glitter, the 2014 Annie, and Grease 2 all look like masterpieces in comparison. I'm going that far. The acting is just abysmal. I mean, when you have, like, Caitlin Dever, Amanda Stenberg, Julianne Moore, and Amy Adams, who I know are all trying to give out decent performances, and they're all bad, that is...
Oh, and by the way, this is the second movie this year where Amy Adams and Julianne Moore are wasted.
Yeah, really.
The first one being in the window.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and you know what? The more I think about it, I still think Glitter is worse, but Dear Evan Hansen is definitely up there. But when you have those actresses trying to give out decent performances, and their talents are horribly wasted due to how poorly written their characters are, that is a real low. And look, I don't like jumping on bandwagons, but Mark Platt, what were you thinking? And it's even worse when Ben Platt's performance as Soren and I discuss, who is absolutely terrible in this movie and horribly miscast. It's even worse than when the director, Steve Wachowski, who directed Perks of Being a Wallflower and Wonder, two very good films right there, literally said this in an interview, that this was supposed to be a vanity project for Ben Platt. Yeah. Vanity project for Ben Platt, just to get him an Oscar nomination, and to say, oh, isn't Ben Platt absolutely brilliant as a singer?
Not anymore, he isn't. At least when Francis Ford Coppola cast Sophia in Godfather 3, at least she was trying.
Yeah, really. Yeah, really. The songs are terrible. I still could not believe that they cut out "Good for You," a song in which Evan Hansen gets called out for his actions, out of the film. I still could not believe that they went that direction. They wasted a good cinematography. The editing is all over the place. It's poorly paced. And welcome to the podcast, Leah. Oh, and welcome to the podcast, Owen. Sorry for not including you earlier. But oh well. But and another thing too, when I mentioned that that editing was all over the place, as well as like cutting out the song like "Good for You." Look, I'm not even kidding. They cut out "Good for You," and instead try to make it try to make it like the film is like emotionally like manipulative, because it wants to make us feel sympathy for Ben Platt's character Evan Hansen, even before and after he gets called out for his actions. And I'm sorry, I do not buy this at all. I do not buy this at all. If you are really trying to get me to feel sympathy for the bad characters, even though their actions were just completely even though their actions were just inexcusable, I'm sorry, but that's emotional manipulation. I hated everything about this movie. I could not find one redeeming thing in this movie. Even, like I said before, even Caitlin Dever, Amanda Stenberg, Julianne Moore, and Amy Addams, all very talented actresses, are horribly wasted. Horribly wasted in such a garbage script. And because of how terrible their characters are written. This is not just only the year's biggest disappointment. It's one of the worst movies I've seen this year. I don't think I felt this angry at a movie that had such a talented cast since like, oh god, what was that film? Oh yeah, since Robin Hood back in 2018. Yeah. Yeah, this is one of the worst movie musicals I've ever seen in my life. It's poorly made. I mean, okay, maybe not poorly made, but it's poorly edited. It's inconsistent, idiotic, emotionally manipulative, and inept throughout. I hated everything about this movie, and without a doubt, I haven't given out one of these in a while. It is, without a doubt, a 0 out of 10 or an F. This is one of the worst movies I've seen this year. Do not waste your time with this one. Even if you're a fan of musicals, you're going to hate this film. Do not waste your time. 0 out of 10. Fuck this movie, and fuck this movie, and to Steven Chbosky, Mark Platt, and the writer Stephen Levinson. Shame on you guys. I'm sorry. Oh, and shame on you, Mark Platt and Stephen Chbosky, for thinking this was going to be a vanity project for Ben Platt, because it's not. It's not. This is just nothing but nepotism. And I hate throwing like accusations and anything related to like crimes, but it's just like this is just nothing but nepotism. Just show off how good your son is, even though he's a terrible singer. I'm sorry. I know Ben Platt was trying his best, but he was horribly miscast, and he's not a good singer. Sorry, Mark. Yeah, fuck this movie. Fuck this movie. Fuck this movie up its own fucking ass.
You know, it seems like only yesterday when I saw 2017 Milo Pony movie and was so much disappointed by it that I even made a video on my YouTube channel. And as far as that movie may have been, I can safely say it's worth watching, which is more than I can say about this particular reboot.
Oh, jeez.
Milo Pony, a new generation. Look, when I saw the trailer for this movie, I thought this was going to blow. And I was totally right. This was one of those times where the trailer accurately depicted the final frown. I mean, you take a look at the story, and not only is it stark and predictable, but I know I don't get a lot of hate for this, but it just turns this groundbreaking series completely woke. I'm not even kidding. The unicorns, Pegasi, and Earth ponies suddenly lost their magic and became prejudiced against each other. So this one Earth pony has to go on this vast quest to recover 3 crystals to hopefully bring magic back. Not only is the plot a severe ripoff of Rant the Last Duel, but it just makes no sense. I mean, I get why they lost the magic, but it's never explained why the ponies became so racist. I mean, I haven't seen the entirety of Friendship is Magic, but from what I've heard, Twilight and the other heroes defended friendship and harmony once and for all. So this whole movie, this whole journey, just seems entirely pointless. The characters are stark and easy to forget. You got the committed underdog pony. You got the goofball unicorn sidekick. You got the no-nonsense cheerful Earth pony. The social media obsessed Pegasus, and so on and so forth. None of them are as relatable as Twilight, as flawed as Sunlight, Starlight Glimmer, as charming as Rainbow Dash, or even as funny as Pinkie Pie. Speaking of the humor, let's talk about it, shall we? This movie is an hour and a half, and it didn't get a single laugh out of me. Not one chuckle. The characters try so hard to be funny, and it all just falls flat in its face. The music is a mixed bag too. I'm looking out for you as well, right? Gonna be my day growing up and it's alright, have good lyrics, but are severely ruined by the overuse of autotune. Autotune, thank you.
You're welcome.
And the
auto-tune. It's just. Look. It's just that completely ruins. Like the whole song in general.
Yeah, and danger, and fits right in. Just fail at trying to be hip and cool for the younger crowd. I mean, where's Daniel Ingram when you need him?
Yeah, really.
And I know I've asked the animation before, but the problems with it rely on solely the character models. The backgrounds and props are actually rendered rather well. And there are some legit emotional moments throughout. But you want to know what the best part about this movie is?
What's that?
The opening where we actually see the original main into the animation.
Yeah, I saw a clip of that too, and it's like now why couldn't the rest be like that?
So anyway, spoilers for this movie I don't recommend, but this is minor guy who's being undercut by the Earth Police Sheriff under the sheriff goes up on the adventure. And fascinating you can say that was his mistake. He out of nowhere becomes this dictatorial ruler of the city and becomes a last-minute twist villain that the heroes have to fight. And after the crystals are reformed, the magic is restored, and the ponies are friends again, no one speaks to this dictatorship again. He doesn't even get punished for it. Not even a punch in the shoulder. So, do you see why I didn't like this movie? It turns what was once a well-written cartoon with great characters and well-handled missiles into this wolf, bland, and boring kids movie. If you like it, fine. I'm not trying to take that away from you. But if you want to get into this franchise, I'd say stick with Generation 4.
And before you bronies before some of you bronies say anything in the comments, do not say that we are G4 purists, because we tried to give this a chance. We really tried. But sometimes good messages do not execute a bad, okay, I'm sorry. A good message does not excuse a bad storyline. Do not, and it's not just My Little Pony: A New Generation. Any other bad kids animated films, whether they're any other kids films, whether they're animation or live action, no matter how good their message is, if the story is executed, then the message, if the story is poorly executed, then it does not excuse it for having a good message at all. Yeah, so, and keep in mind, this is just our personal opinions. You may disagree, but do not get butthurt and say, oh, well, if you don't like things fun, then fuck you guys. Do not get butthurt. Please. This is just our opinion, and you should at least respect it. You might not like what we say, and that's fine to disagree, but you gotta respect it. I'm sorry for that long rant, but it's just like after being harassed by some users, including that one fucker on DeviantArt who called me a G4 purist and stupid, I just had to get this off my chest. Next review, please.
So with the success of the Hotel Transylvania movies, MTN was like, hey, we can have a Halloween-themed animated kids franchise too. Let's take a classic gothic dark comedy like the Addams Family, which we conveniently own the rights to, and turn it into the next big thing for kids. And in 2019, they did. The first CGI Addams Family movie, while not that positively received, was a modest hit at the box office, so a sequel was inevitable. There's only one catch, though. Generally, a fully CG film typically takes like 3 to 5 years to make, with the writing, casting, design work, and finalizing the animation. This sequel, on the other hand, was rushed for a 2-year time slot even with the ongoing pandemic currently going on. And boy, does it so. Some of the positives carry on from the first movie. The cast is actually pretty good, and there are some gags here and there that capture the dark spirit of the Addams family.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go for the negatives, though. First of all, the movie's plot makes no sense.
Nope.
The concept of a family vacation has got to be the third, fifth, at least eighth mostly plot for a kids movie, which I wouldn't mind, except they don't even go to places how it fits with them. Instead, they go to the most overdone vacation locations imaginable. Niagara Falls, the beach, the Grand Canyon, etc. Also, this is half-assed subplot involving Wednesday questioning her role within her family, which is the attaching story of the first movie, but whatever. And her being her quote-unquote true family, who turned out to have faked her DNA test, just so that they could use her and the rest of the Addams in this idiotic evil plan involving turning them into animals or something.
That was so stupid.
And just like the first...
And it served no purpose!
And just like the first movie, the animation is kind of lackluster. The background's okay, but the way they designed the Addams family just make them look like someone from magazine was hired to design them.
Yeah, really.
By the way, you know how I mentioned Hotel Transylvania near the beginning of this review?
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure that's the reason this movie was greenlit, but I wouldn't be surprised at the lead.
Yeah, really.
Outside the occasional gag that took the Addams franchise, most of this movie is just trying to be hip and cool for the Gen Z demographic. Sorry.
Just trying to be hip and cool. Stop! Please stop trying to be hip and cool. With no subtlety whatsoever. Just stop.
The soundtrack dishes the potential to have dark songs and gothic instrumentals, and the set goes for the generic pop music that's been plaguing kids' movies for the past 15 years or so. Most of the jokes go by the stereotypical quote humor, including no less than two clocks jokes. Or out of nowhere pop culture references to stuff like Jaws, Harry, and V for Vendetta. Oh, and MGM, why did you have to make that Billie Eilish reference?
Yeah, really.
Just one week before you give her big break with 007?
Like, seriously.
So overall, this movie is not only poorly written and kind of annoying, but continues to make the Addams Family franchise look less like a two-part gothic sitcom and more like a freaking Hotel Transylvania blockbuster, just without any of Hotel Transylvania's charm. And considering the fact that this movie was literally rushed into production, it's easy to tell by the final product. Stick with the original shows, cartoons, or the original live-action movies, 3 out of 10.
Yeah, the live-action films are way better films than this piece of shit. This is one of the worst animated films I've seen this year. As disappointed I was as disappointed as I was with the first Addams Family animated film, I'll give it this. At least it did have some funny moments in it, and at least the animation is decent, and the voice casting is well done. And honestly, the voice acting was really the only redeeming thing I found with the film, especially when you have Oscar Isaac, Charlize Theron, Wallace Shawn, Chloe Grace Moretz, Nick Kroll, and Bill Hader all giving out some decent vocal performances. But other than that, that's really it. This, the story's an inconsistent mess. The script is just absolutely terrible. Not only is the dialogue, not only some of the dialogue like terrible, but the characterization was too. Like the directing is terrible. I was also very disappointed with the animation for this film. Yes, some of the backgrounds look nice, but the character design and the way they made the characters move, yeah, I'm sorry, but the animation was just lackluster. The soundtrack is terrible. It's poorly edited, poorly paced. The jokes fell very flat. Unlike the first Addams Family animated film where I did laugh a few times, here I did not laugh once. And it's made even worse. When one of the scenes in the Addams Family 2 involves a product placement joke. When this one joke in the Addams Family 2 involves a product placement of Progressive.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. I remember the other day when my grandma was watching episodes of the old Addams Family show.
Yeah.
When we suddenly came across a Progressive commercial with the Addams Family. Why?
Yeah, really, just why? The subplot involving the DNA was completely shoehorned in, and like I stated with My Little Pony: A New Generation, a good message does not excuse bad storytelling, because the storytelling in this is absolutely atrocious. And when it just comes down to it, the Addams Family 2 was just a boring mess. It's not as horrendous as the Boss Baby Family Business, but I'm telling you, this is one of the worst animated films I've seen this year, and easily on my list for one of the worst films of the year too. It's getting a 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10 or D minus. Fuck this movie. Fuck this movie.
So our next movie review is The Many Saints of Newark. So this is supposed to be a prequel to the hit series The Sopranos, detailing the origins of how Tony Soprano became the influence gangster in the 1970s. And the most accurate thing I can say about it is that it's a good movie that thinks it's way better than it actually is. The script could use more, since it relies on a lot of gangster movie cliches, and it just jumps around random themes with random cast members. But on the bright side, the acting is good, the soundtrack is alright, the cinematography is great, the dialogue is great, and there are some scenes that are actually well done at contest. As a Sopranos newbie myself, I can safely say that while the story is a bit convoluted and sort of done before, the filmmaking and characters make it worth seeing. 7 out of 10.
I'm going a bit higher than you. I was disappointed with the script. I felt it could have been. I felt it could have used some more work, especially with some of the cliches that were in there, and it does suffer through some pacing issues here and there, and at times it does get a little convoluted. But honestly, that's really it. I found the story to be engaging. The directing was good. The acting was very good. Everybody gave out a great performance, including Novola and Ray Liotta. But Michael Gandolfini, I might be in a minority on this, but I would be lying if I didn't say that Michael Gandolfini gives out one of the best breakthrough performances I've seen this year. The way he steps in his father's shoes as the young version of like Tony Soprano was absolutely amazing. I absolutely loved his performance. Great soundtrack, great cinematography, good editing. There are some humorous moments in it throughout, and overall, I liked it. It's not great. It definitely has some issues. Like I said, the script could have been a lot better. Since I really wish it didn't use those cliches that we've seen in other films before, and it does suffer through some pacing issues here and there as well. But that's it. But that's it. 8 out of 10. I liked it. I really liked this movie, and I think it's worth checking out, especially if you're a fan of The Sopranos.
So the first Venom movie from 2018, I consider to be underappreciated. So naturally, I was looking forward to the sequel. And this was what I personally liked about the first one, that being the odd couple dynamic between Eddie Brock and Venom, and makes it the main focus. And the elements introduced to the universe are pretty cool too, such as the introduction of Woody Harrelson's villainous portrayal as Carnage.
That was the best thing in the film, for me.
It's also pretty funny, whether it was intentional or not. The effects and fight scenes are as good as they were in the first movie, and I can even appreciate the cinematography at that. Mm-hmm. So if you like the first Venom movie, definitely seek this one out. I won't say after the credits, you'll be speechless.
Yes, the post credits was good. I'll say that. As for me, I was not looking forward to this one. I hated the first Venom movie. It was on my worst films of 2018 list, despite Tom Hardy and the cinematography being the only redeeming things in the film. And I'll say this. This is better than the first Venom movie, since it did have some redeeming things in it. The acting here is much better than it was in the first film. Tom Hardy is very good as always. Michelle Williams is good, but it's Woody Harrelson that easily steals the entire show. It's Woody Harrelson that easily steals the entire show. He is easily the best thing in the film. The musical score is very good. The cinematography is great. And I will say this: the action sequences are at least a lot of fun to watch. I'll say that. There's not a lot of it in the film, but when there is, it is fun to watch. And the post-credit sequence was decent as well. But, well, Søren, I'm sorry to tell you this, man, but I did not like this movie.
Weird thing, I can actually understand if some people don't like these movies. I know it's weird to say, but it's kind of true.
Alright, so, unlike Soren, I hated the odd couple dynamic in the film. I'll explain why in a bit, but the story's all over the place. When the Carnage subplot is more interesting than the main story, yeah, that's really, really bad. The script is terrible since it features bad dialogue and an inconsistent tone. The directing is the directing's a mess. It's clumsily edited. And most of the time, even though the film is very fast paced, at times it's just too frantic in some scenes. In some scenes, the visual effects are a mess too, in my personal opinion. And And another reason why so I mentioned that I hated the dynamic between Eddie Brock and Venom, and here's the one big reason why. The fucking comedy! It infuriated me just as much as the comedy in the first film. I get what they were trying to do with this, but it's just like, have you ever been? Imagine you're in one of those like nightclubs and you watch a comedian like and feel embarrassed for the comedian because he drags out a joke on and on and on and on and on to the point where you're just feeling bored. That's how I felt with the comedy in Venom 2, especially when it came to like the Odd Couple dynamic comedy. I get they were trying to do that, but there are two big problems I have with this. Number one, it's been used in a lot of films before, not just in films, but in other piece of media as well, especially in the 1968 film The Odd Couple, starring Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon, which, if you guys have not seen that, I highly recommend giving that film a watch. It's a great one. And the second biggest problem with this, Venom never shuts up. Within the first half of the film, he never ever shuts up. Like, I'm not even kidding. This is like the comedy thrill. Hey, you want to shut up? But I thought shut up. Well, I thought shut up and go away. Dick. That's literally the comedy. And it gets really it annoyed the fuck out of me. To no end. Look, despite this being better than the first film, I know some people like this movie, and that's fine. But Venom Let There Be Carnage was one of the most frustrating films I've ever had to sit through this entire year. 3 out of 10. I'm sorry, but this is one of the worst movies. This is one of the worst and most frustrating movies I have seen this year. It's just, if you guys like this movie, that's totally alright. You can have your opinion. It's just, I really wish I was on board with this. It's just, and, look, Andy Serkis, I know you're a talented actor. We see you be a talented actor. But, as a filmmaker, you got a long way to go before you got a lot to improve, man. I know I want to see you become a filmmaker, but it's just like you got a lot to improve with your filmmaking. Just saying. And I know they're gonna make a Venom 3, and if they make a Venom 3, I have one piece of advice to give them. And that advice is this. Knock it off with the shoehorned in comedy! Please! Yeah, 3 out of 10. I'm sorry, but I did not like this movie at all. Sorry. Next review.
So I have a question about our next movie review, A24's Lamb. What the hell did we just watch?
Like, really?
But seriously, if you can get over this bizarre premise of a young Islamic woman who finds a young sheep-human hybrid as her own, you're in for an emotional film.
Yeah, really.
The acting is great, especially Naomi Pace.
She was great.
The pacing is slow, but it fits the entire tone. The cinematography is beautiful, and the visual effects in The Lamb are unfucking believable.
I know.
Only up to an ending that will leave you speechless.
I had a problem with the ending, but I'll get to that in a bit.
I understand why a lot of people would be put off by this movie.
Yeah.
But I really think it's for what it was. I mean, this is probably the most surprising film since Nicolas Cage's Pig.
Yeah.
So 10 out of 10.
I wouldn't. For me, I like this movie. I really like this one. I found the story to be I was emotionally invested in the story. The script was good. The directing is great. The acting is terrific. Newbie Rapace, as I mentioned before, is great. Was fantastic in this movie. The musical score is haunting and beautiful. The cinematography was beautiful. It's nice. The editing is good. And one thing I gotta mention, how the visual effects they used to make the half human, half lamb look real. That was just fascinating, absolutely fascinating. This is one of the best visual effects I've seen put to film this entire year, and there are a couple of funny moments in it, funny and emotional moments in it as well. Now, I did have some issues with the film though. Although I did say the script is good, I did wish they could have. I did wish it could have used a bit of the rewrite, especially with the third act. Even though the third act was decent, there were some parts in it that are like what? And the ending was also very abrupt too. It's like one of those, and I get they were trying to be ambiguous with this, and that's totally all right, and I'm fine with ambiguity as long as it's subtle, but this is one of those endings where it just left me with more questions than just answers. Like okay, if no spoilers for those who haven't seen it, but I was like, okay, so if this happened, then why did this happen all of a sudden? And what happened to that? What happened to that? Or why did this? Or how did this happen? It's one of those endings that really left me with more questions. Not as bad as the ending for Old. M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong's Old, but it did feel abrupt. And also the film did suffer through some pacing issues here and there for me, but that's really it. I overall enjoyed Lamb. It's not great, but I did find it to be an interesting experience, an interesting and mesmerizing experience, I should say. 8 out of 10. I also give it an 8 out of 10, Leah. And Eddie, if you're wondering, Sid is this guy that kept on stalking Nicholas Lee many times before. Yeah.
Anyway, next movie review. The latest James Bond film, No Time to Die. Not since Ryan the Last Dragon has such a well-crafted movie kinda underwhelmed me with its less than perfect screenplay. It's definitely better than the Rise of Skywalker the series Baxter, because the acting is more engaging, especially from Daniel Craig.
Yes.
The action is more tense, the music is a blast, and the story gets the appropriate amount of suspense and emotion, especially in the climax and ending. However, No Time to Die is just way too long. You could easily shave off like 20 to 30 minutes off the runtime and lose nothing. Plus, there are just one or two characters who are just to get their actors a paycheck. Like this girl who's the love interest's daughter, and she serves little to no purpose throughout the movie, except maybe the ending without spoiling it. Also, blow clothes in this movie for like 10 minutes. Not to mention, Rami Malek was pretty weak as a villain. Not to say he was poorly acted or written or anything. It's just that he's just every cliched spy movie villain ever. And for the final bad guy for Daniel Craig to defeat, I expected more. So, those are my 2 cents about No Time to Die. It's definitely satisfying enough as both a swan song for Daniel Craig and a vast improvement over Spectre. But the screenplay could have used another rewrite, and it would have been on the same level as Casino Royale and Skyfall. Obviously, if you're a 007 fan or an action movie fan, I'm recommending it. But expect to be somewhat underwhelmed. 7 out of 10.
Personally, I love this movie. I absolutely love this movie. I do agree with Soren that although Rami Malek was great in the film, I do agree that his villain character was a bit underdeveloped. Like I wish they could have explored more with his villain character and why he was like this. And I do agree that they could have shaped like 10 minutes of the film. Like 10 minutes of the film off. But that's it. I love this movie. The story was fantastic. The script was great. The directing was fantastic. The acting is fantastic too. As I mentioned, Daniel Craig, for his final film as James Bond, he really nailed it out of the park with this one. The soundtrack is fantastic. The cinematography is terrific. The editing was terrific. It's very well paced throughout, and the action sequences are fantastic. The film has great visual effects and makeup, and without spoiling the ending, I have to say this is one of the best endings I've ever seen in a James Bond movie. So yeah, I love this movie. I really, really love this movie. I think it's one of my favorite films of the year, and I overall give it a 9.5 out of 10 or an A. Worst Bond movie? Eddie brought up a good question. Nick, what do you think is the worst Bond movie? Worst Bond movie.
To be honest, I've only seen the Bond movies from Dr. No to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and then skipped all the way to the Daniel Craig movies. But for what I hear, Die Another Day is probably the worst.
For me, it's A View to a Kill. The movie was an incomprehensible mess throughout, especially with its storytelling. Good action, I will give it that, but the storytelling is a mess. Anyway, on to the next review. Oh yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Leah. He once told people to go after Nicholas in public, in case you don't remember. Thank you for telling me. Sid, if you're watching this, shame on you.
Oh, and Network 98 wanted to know what you thought of Spectre.
I thought Spectre was a good movie. Not great, but good. I give it a 7 out of 10.
As for our next movie review, Ridley Scott's The Last Duel. This is his return to the long-forgotten genre and the one that made him famous, the Sword and Sandals epic. Does it live up to the hype? This movie compellingly explores the themes of betrayal, sexual assault, and the honesty of accusation. It also boasts outstanding production values, from the cinematography and music, to the sets and costumes, to the acting, especially from Jodie Comer and Adam Driver, who are bound to get
terrific.
They're bound to get award consideration for the performance.
Yeah.
However, the issues I have lying the pacing.
Yeah.
So this movie is split into three chapters, each detailing the events leading to the misconduct and accusations from the point of view of Matt Damon and driver and Jodie Comer. And as a result, it could get repetitive for some people.
It got repetitive to me. Like they really could have cut some scenes out. Like there was no reason for this film to be 2.5 hours.
Yes, it was stated. There are some scenes that could have been cut. Like these high-profile battle sequences, just for Ridley Scott to say, "Oh look, pretty battle sequences. You'll see these pretty battle sequences in movies anymore. Remember when I made these pretty battle sequences in Kingdom of Heaven and Gladiator?"
Like we get it, Ridley. We get it. Like you don't need to show the same scene over and over and over again. You could have just cut that out.
I really wish this was more of a medieval drama leading up to a brutal ritual duel. So, while this isn't the next Gladiator, as I hoped it would be, it's still a well-directed and acted drama that's worth recommending, and it's real sad to see it bomb at the box office. 8 out of 10.
I kind of see why it bombed. I mean, I kind of see why it bombed, but at the same time, it's just really unfortunate. I like this movie too. I'm pretty much on the same boat with Soren on this one. What I didn't like about the film was that I did wish the script could have used some more work, especially with some scenes that really didn't need to be there. Especially like I said before, the same scene like told in. Especially when we get to the 3 chapters, the 3 perspectives, sometimes it just cuts to the same scene over and over and over again. Like, why? We already saw the same scene we already saw the same scene for the first time. Why do you need to do that again? Another thing too was that it does suffer through some pacing issues here and there. And like I said before, there was no reason for this film to be 2.5 hours long. There was no reason for that. But despite that, I really liked this movie a lot. I found the story engaging. I found the story to be I was emotionally invested and engaged with the story. It's very well directed. The acting is great. Jodie Comer was fantastic, and so was Adam Driver. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon also gave out fantastic performances too. The musical score is fantastic. The cinematography is fantastic. The production values and costume design were spot on, since it feels like you're back in the medieval times, and it's very well edited. And some of the action sequences were really amazing to watch. And when it came to the duel sequence towards the end of the film, that blew me away. Like, this is one of the best scenes I've ever seen put to film this entire year. The way it was shot and filmed, and the way it was choreographed, very, very well done. So while I didn't quite love this movie as much as I thought I would, I did find The Last Duel to be a highly enjoyable film. Regardless, I found it to be entertaining and powerful and compelling. So overall, I pretty much give it the same score as Soren did. I give it an 8 out of 10.
As for the next movie review, it was one of the most anticipated movies of the year. And that is Denis Villeneuve's adaptation of Dune.
Oh, I loved this movie. It was one of the most anticipated films of the year, and for good reason.
Guys, this is a movie that is not the net.
Exactly.
This really is a film that combines the sci-fi of Star Wars and the scope of Lord of the Rings. I like the 1984 film by David Lynch, which tried to cram 2 Bibles worth of material into a 2-hour 15 movie, and somehow felt slow as molasses.
Yeah. I love David Lynch, but this This, I do agree, it's his weakest film.
Here, Diggy Villeneuve puts this time establishing Frank Herbert's intriguing lore, and somehow gives it a rich pace. The cast is terrific as well, with Timothée Chalamet looking far younger
Oh, he is fantastic.
than the grown man that was cast in the last movie. There's also the likes of Oscar Isaac, Jason Momoa, Dave Bautista, and more shining as always. The special effects, cinematography, and Hans Zimmer's music are nothing short of breathtaking.
Yes.
They are truly worth watching on the biggest screen possible. So overall, Disney has struck gold once again. This is a visual and auditory masterpiece of cinema if I ever saw one.
Yes.
And if I do have one gripe about it, one teeny tiny nitpick that detracts from the experience, it's when it ends. Like when the credits rolled, I wanted more. I can't remember the last time I walked out of the theater, and my first thought was, man, I cannot wait for the sequel. So, whatever you do, I'm watching this video. Go ahead and see this as soon as you can. 10 out of 10.
Please see this as soon as you can. It's one of the best movies I've seen this year. It's a visual, epic masterpiece. The story was fantastic. The script was very well written. Not only with the characters, with the way the characters were written, but the way the dialogue was written too. It was very, very well written. And Denis Villeneuve proves once again why he's one of the best filmmakers working today. His directing is absolutely fantastic. You could not only see the vision he's trying to go for with this, but the way he like directs the actors and how he choreographs some of the fight sequences, which I gotta mention the fight sequences. They were absolutely mind-blowing and amazing. Absolutely amazing. How it was choreographed, how it was directed, how it was edited. Fantastic. The acting was fantastic too. Like I said, Timothée Chalamet proves once again that he's one of the best actors working today. His acting was absolutely terrific. And you also have other great actors that were in this too, like Oscar Isaac, Jason Momoa, Rebecca Ferguson. I'm sorry. Give me a moment. I'm trying to like.
Did you mention Zendaya?
Zendaya, thank you. She's not in the film that much, but when she is great. She is absolutely great in this movie. Yeah, Stellan Skarsgård, Josh Brolin, Charlotte Rampling, and Javier Bard. Thank you, Eddie. Javier Bardem. All of them give out fantastic performances in the film. Not to mention Hans Zimmer's musical score. If there's one word to describe Hans Zimmer's musical, it would be powerful.
I was gonna say epic, but that works too.
Yeah. Okay, 2 words: epic and powerful. Especially with how he composes like the bagpipes. That was absolutely masterful. That was fantastic. The cinematography is one of the best I've seen put to film this entire year. The editing was terrific. And the pacing was fantastic too. Yes, it's slow burn, but it needed to be that way to fit the tone and atmosphere of the film. And you know what? And you know, for 155 minutes, for a movie that's like over 150 minutes, it just flew by for me. It just flew by. The visual effects. These, I'm not even kidding, guys. The visual effects is the best I've ever seen put to film this entire year. How they were able to go into deep. How they were able to like animate and design some of the details with the visual effects, especially the sandworm. Absolutely amazing. This is the best visual effects I've ever seen put to film this entire year. The fight sequences, as I mentioned before, were fantastic, and as well as the action sequences. There's not a lot of it, but when there is, oh my god, it is awesome. And the way it ended, it just left me hungry for more. Like I said, I do agree with Soren that if I had one tiny little thing about little gripe, again, it doesn't affect for wonderful good form I'm about to give this movie, but I didn't want it to end. Like I said, it just left me hungry. Like I said before, this is one of those endings. This is one of those movies where I just did not want it to end. I cannot wait for the sequel. But despite that, that's really it. I cannot wait to see Dune Part 2. The fact it was number one at the box office for 2 weeks, 2 weeks in a row, last week and this week, makes me so happy that we're gonna get Dune Part 2 in two more years. So thank you for once giving this the deserved money it deserves. This is, without a doubt, one of the best movies I've seen this year, and one of the most entertaining, visually stunning, and epic movies I have seen this year too. It is an epic masterpiece, and I will be this shocked if it misses my top 5 at the end of this year. It's that amazing. I cannot wait for Part 2. It's easily one of the best movies I've seen this year, and without a doubt, you already know what it's going to get. A 10 out of 10, or an A+. Yeah, go see this. Whatever you do, stop what you're doing and go see this movie as soon as you can. It's one of the best movies I've seen this year. Oh yeah, thank you, Leah. Nick also, in case you don't remember, John said Rian Johnson should be punched in the face. You do realize that's assault, right, John?
Let's just get on with the next review.
Yeah, let's just get on with it before I go insane.
So Wes Anderson's films have always had this uniquely quirky charm to them, and his latest one, The French Dispatch, is still this exception.
Right.
This is hands down his most visually unique film, in the way he shoots the sequences in different color schemes and aspect ratios. Sometimes it may seem kind of pointless story-wise, but it's just so visually pleasing that you just don't care.
Right. I was personally impressed with the way it was done.
The writing is great as always.
Mm-hmm.
Alexander Desplat's great music is great as always. And the cast is pretty massive. Almost like it's the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate of Wes Anderson cast.
I know, right?
So if you love Wes Anderson as much as I do, you will continue to love his work.
Yeah.
It's not one of his best, but all of his films are visually stunning and perfectly written enough to get the highest range of that is. And that's a 10 out of 10.
It was very close to getting a 10 out of 10 for me. One minor nitpick I did have with the film is that while I did like the Timothée Chalamet and Frances McDormand segment, Manifesto, there were some parts in that segment that did drag in some places, but It did drag at some parts, and I did wish they could have cut some of it down. But that's really it. I love this movie. Even though Manifesto is the weakest, I still liked it. The second best has to be the artist, the one with the artist by starring Benicio del Toro. That was fantastic. And my favorite segment out of all the segments that were in the French Dispatch has to be. Let me look this up. My favorite of these segments has to be the private dining room of the police commissioner. I'm telling you, that segment was absolutely fantastic. When I saw this in theaters with my buddy Nate, we cracked up. We were laughing our hardest at that segment, especially with how they used like the animation style with in some parts. That was fantastic. The story was fantastic. Oh, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, the animation just makes me wish that Wes Anderson made a completely 2D animated film in this story.
Oh, same here. Same here. The story was fantastic. Even the weakest story, Manifesto, still had me engaged throughout. The script was great. The directing by Wes Anderson was fantastic. The acting was fantastic. Like I said, everybody. You have everybody in the film, including Bill Murray, Owen Wilson, Elizabeth Moss, Jason Schwartzman, Benicio del Toro, Adrian Brody, Tilda Swinton, Frances McDormand, Timothée Chalamet, who we just mentioned earlier, in Dune, Jeffrey Wright, Liev Schreiber, Edward Norton, Willem Dafoe, and Saoirse Ronan, and the kid actor Winston A. Hello. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. I'm really sorry if I mispronounced that. But they all gave out terrific performances in the film. Alexandre Desplat's musical score was fantastic. The cinematography is beautiful. The way and the visual style to the cinematography was absolutely fantastic. The way it cuts back and forth to like black and white to like color, I thought that was an amazing touch to the cinematography. I also loved the way it was edited. Minus some parts in the Manifesto segment, most of the film's pacing was absolutely terrific. And when it came to like other Wes Anderson movies, when it came to the film's humor, it's quirky yet clever and witty. And not only did the film have a fantastic set design, but amazing production values and costume design as well. Since it really feels like you really are there in this town. So, yeah, I love this movie. Even if it isn't one of Wes Anderson's very best, I still really dug the hell out of the French Dispatch, and I think. And even though it might not be like in my top 15 best, I still think it'll have a chance at like being like somewhere between like 18 or 17 at the end of this year on my best films of the year list. So overall, this was a great movie, and despite it not being one of Wes Anderson's very best, I think this is one of his better ones since I found this to be one of the most entertaining, visually unique, and exquisite and exhilarating films I've seen this year. 9.5 out of 10 or an A. I love this movie, and I think it's one of my favorite films of the year. Even despite the fact it's not one of his very best.
And since we're mentioning Wes Anderson, we might as well get the ranking out of the way, shall we?
Yeah.
So anyways, my number 10 was Rushmore.
Really?
Number 9, Bottle Rocket. Number 8, Darjeeling Limited. Number 7, his latest French Dispatch. Number 6, Moonrise Kingdom. Number 5, Isle of Dogs. Number 4, Royal Tenenbaums. Number three, his most overlooked, Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. Number two, The Grand Budapest Hotel. And number one, Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Nice. For me, my least favorite is Life Aquatic, but I still liked it. It's just not as great as his other films. And I also have the same number 9, which is Bottle Rocket. Very good film. Number 8 is his latest. And the rest, like from 8 to 7 are like the films I 8 to like actually 8 to 4 I gave it 9.5 out of 10 or an A. And they are The Darjeeling Limited, his latest, The French Dispatch, and The Royal Tenenbaums, and Fantastic Mr. Fox. And then my numbers 4 through 1 are all A+. My numbers 4 through 1 are A+. Number 4 is Rushmore. Number 3 is Number 3 is Isle of Dogs. Number 2 is Moonrise Kingdom. And my favorite Wes Anderson movie is what I consider to be his magnum opus masterpiece, The Grand Budapest Hotel. And that's my ranking. One last time. One last time in case you guys forgot. Number 10, Life Aquatic. Number 9, Bottle Rocket. Number 8, The Darjeeling Limited. Number 7, The French Dispatch. Number 6, The Royal Tenenbaums. Number 5, Fantastic Mr. Fox. Number 4, Rushmore. Number 3, Isle of Dogs. Number 2, Moonrise Kingdom. And my favorite Wes Anderson movie, The Grand Budapest Hotel. Alright, now we can move on.
So the last movie review that Nick and I actually share, before he goes with his solo movie reviews. The latest anime kids movie, Ron's Gone Wrong. And this movie was a little better than I thought it was going to be. The story was somewhat predictable. It's pretty heartfelt. The animation on the robots and environments are pretty, and it did get a ton of laughs out of me. Especially Jack Allen actress as the titular robot.
Yes!
Sure, there are some problems, like the animation of the humans. Some story beats are extremely cliched, and the climax was hella weak. But it could have been worse. So my recommendation, 7 out of 10.
I was very surprised by this film. This movie I did not expect to like, but in the end, this is one of those movies where I was very surprised what I watched. The animation is good, especially with the V-bot design, but the human characters and the backgrounds were very well done. But the human designs could have used some more work. That's why it kept it from being great. The story did have its cliches. That's one of my problems with the film, is that it does share its cliches, especially with the storyline. And it does suffer through a couple pacing issues here and there as well, but that's really it. The script was good. The directing was very good. The voice acting was great. Zach Galifianakis was fantastic as Ron, as the voice of Ron, the V-bot. All the other voice acting is good too. The musical score is very good. It's nicely edited. There's some great humor in it, and it has and the way they executed the message about friendship was very well done here. So overall, Ron's Gone Wrong was a nice surprise. I really like this movie, and I give it an 8 out of 10. Or a B+. I guess I'm alone on the I guess I'm alone on the movies that I'm about to talk about. I'm gonna okay, so I'll talk about the one that I think is good but not great, and then get to the ones that, and then I'll talk about the one that's good but not great, and then get to the worst all the way through the best. So okay, well actually I'll talk about the worst first because the worst the worst is one of the most disappointing films I've seen this entire year. Halloween is one of my all-time favorite horror films. And I really liked, and I did like some of the Halloweens. I did like a couple of the Halloween sequels, including Halloween 4 and Halloween H2O.
Yeah, Halloween. The first Halloween is probably my second favorite horror movie. My number one is we'll get to it later, but spoiler alert, it has something to do with two respective main leads having a connection with each other.
Right.
And it was even mentioned in Halloween H2O.
Right. Right. And I really, really liked Halloween 2018. This movie, though, is one of the most disappointing films I've seen this year. It's Halloween Kills. I don't know what happened with this film. I mean, David Gordon Green, I think, is a very talented filmmaker. He's a very underrated filmmaker. If you need proof of that, watch films like Joe and All the Real Girls. He proves that he could be a very talented filmmaker. And watch the film he directed with Jake Gyllenhaal called Stronger. That's another good film. But I don't know what happened here. I almost hated this. I'm not making this up when I say this. I almost hated it as much as I absolutely loathe my least favorite film of his, The Sitter. With the one with Jonah Hall, I almost hated it just as much as I. This is literally almost as bad as The Sitter, almost. The reason why I don't think it's as bad or worse is because there are a couple of good things in it. Jamie Lee Curtis, Judy Greer, and the other actress. I forgot, but they were easily the best things in the film. The musical score is great. The cinematography is great, and when it came to the kills, they were very effective. But that's it. The story's a mess. The script, dear Lord, what the fuck was the script? Aside from terrible characterization, this movie has some of the worst dialogue I've ever heard in a film this entire year. To the point where you just feel like saying, no human being in real life would even do that. The directing is a mess. The rest of the acting, oh my god, minus the three main lead actresses, the rest of the acting was absolutely terrible. I was very disappointed with the rest of the acting in the film. It felt like these guys didn't even want to be there, and it was just, like I said, nothing more than just like one of their paycheck roles, which is fine, but you gotta give it at least your all. You're all in the film. The editing is terrible. It's poorly paced. It goes for those cliches that we've seen in other horror films before. And the ending is one of the worst endings I've ever seen put to film. It's one of the worst and most disappointing endings I've seen put to film this entire year. I'm not going to give away what happens for those who are curious, but this is one of those endings where when that ending happened, I went, what? What? Yeah, this is one of the most disappointing films I've seen this year. I love Halloween. Halloween is one of my all-time favorite horror films. And I really dug the hell out of Halloween 2018, but this one was a massive disappointment. It was a massive disappointment. It's easily one of the most disappointing films I've seen this year. 3 out of 10. 3 out of 10 or a D+. I really despise this movie. Okay. Alright, so we get to the ones that have like great ratings, but a film's that I'm really mixed on. First one we're gonna start off with is Blue Bayou, directed by and starring Justin Chon. If you don't know what Blue Bayou is, here let me look this up. If you don't know what Blue Bayou is, it's supposed to be. It stars Alicia Vikander, Justin Chon, Mark O'Brien, and Emery Cohen, and I'm sorry. Let me look this up really quick. Anyway, if you don't know what Blue Bayou is, I already explained who was in it. Now here's the story, and it tells the story of Antonio LeBlanc, who is a Korean adoptee raised in a small town in the Louisiana Bayou. He's married to the love of his wife, Kathy, played by Alicia Vikander, and raising his beloved stepdaughter, Jessie. Struggling to make a better life for his family, he must soon confront the ghost of his past after learning that he could be deported from the only country he's ever called home. This movie did have a lot of potential with its message of with its like subject on like immigration to deportation, which I feel should be talked about more because there are sadly people in real life who have been like who have been like deported, who have been like deported, which is really unfortunate. But I was very disappointed with this film. What I did like about this movie, though, was that it's very well acted. Everybody gave out a fantastic performance. Justin Chon is great, and Alicia Vikander was also fantastic in the film. The actress that played Jessie, though, was absolutely fantastic. The soundtrack is great. The cinematography was fantastic, although there were some parts of it. Although I'll mention one thing about it later in my negatives. And the directing is very well done too. It's very well directed, and the ending. Oh my god, the ending blew me away. It left me depressed for sure, but it was one of those endings where that just blew me away. Now, here's why I was disappointed with Blue Bayou. The storytelling. I'm not even kidding. The storytelling was just all over the place. I mean, at one point it's like at one point it also focuses on the subplot involving like his mother, which is never touched, which felt very rushed and never touched upon again after that, and the script was also a mess. Like, yes, the movie has good characterization, but the dialogue was what I had a problem with. Also, some of the editing choices they make for the cinematography was absolutely like inconsistent, especially like when you could see, like, I get they were trying to shot this in like 16mm, which is a very good choice, but some of the choices they made especially were very, very odd and out of place, and not in a good way, especially since in this one scene, especially when not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times in the film where you could literally see the hair in the gate of the camera. Like, what? And also the film is poorly paced. Like, the pacing was so sluggish in the film. I don't mind slow burn pace movies if they keep me invested, but because of how underdeveloped some of the characters were, it was just hard for me to get invested. Yeah, so overall, Blue Bayou was alright. It did have some memorable... It's very well acted, and it did have some memorable and powerful moments here and there. But the movie was a mess. I really didn't... I'm sorry to those that like this movie, but I just was not a fan of Blue Bayou at all. 5.5 out of 10 or a C+. My next one... I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. I am going to get so much controversy and hate over this. I have found my pick for the most overrated film I've seen this year. I was not a fan of the director's last movie. And while her new one is better than the last one, I still wasn't a fan of this one. It's called Titane, directed by Julia Ducournau. If you don't know what Titane is, basically it's about Alexia, a woman who, after being injured in a car accident as a child, has a titanium plate implanted into her head, and then not only is okay, so this movie did have some potential, especially since it did win the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, and I do like body horror if it's done well, but this is one of those movies where it just was frustrating to watch. Now, before I talk about what I didn't like about the film, I do want to talk about a lot of the positives that were in the film, because there were a lot of things that I did admire. First off, the acting was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. The actress that played Alexia was great, but it's Vincent Lindon who played ironically Vincent in the film, that gave out one of the best breakthrough performances I've seen this year, and he was the only character in the film that I actually really liked. The musical score was fantastic. The cinematography was fantastic as well. When it came to the body horror elements, they were very, very grotesque and hard to watch. But at the same time, the use of practical effects they used for the body horror was very, very well done. And the editing was very good too. But sadly, I'm sorry guys, I was not a fan of Titane. The story was an inconsistent mess. Like, what I mean is that all of a sudden we go from her, like, I do get why she's like this in the film, but at one point we all of a sudden go from her being like a stripper to like a serial killer? Like, what? What was that all about? The script was also a mess. Some of the dialogue felt a bit like... Some of the dialogue felt really clunky and just... Oh my god. And also, I was very disappointed with the directing by Julia Ducournau. Now, I do appreciate Julia Ducournau for what she was trying to do, but this is one of those movies where I didn't know what direction she was even trying to go for with this. It's also poorly paced, and also, without spoiling this, I hated the ending to this film. Without spoiling what happens, it was one of those endings that felt weird, and not in a good way. Now, I don't mind weird stuff as long as it's subtle, but this is one of those endings where I was like, what the fuck? And not in a good way. I'm sorry, but Titane is my most overrated film of the year. While I do feel it's a bit better than Raw, since it did have some memorable moments here and there, I found it to be an inconsistent mess, and that's why I wasn't a fan of Titane. I also give it a 5.5 out of 10 or a C+. Thankfully, the last two films I'm about to talk about are good ones. My next movie review is the Netflix film The Guilty, directed by Antoine Fuqua and starring Jake Gyllenhaal. The story goes something like this. It's basically based on the remake of the same film that was from it's a remake of the 2018 film, 2018 Danish film of the same name, and in it we see Jake Gyllenhaal playing a troubled police detective who demoted to a 911 operator. Judy scrambles to save a distressed caller during a howling days of revelations and reckonings. So I like this movie. This movie really had me like emotionally invested in the story. It's very well directed. The acting is great. Jake Gyllenhaal was fantastic in the film. Most of the calls is like voice acted, but the voice acting for the calls was very well done too. The musical score was fantastic. The cinematography was very good, and I really liked the way it ended too. That was very well done, and the way it was edited too was very good too. Now, what I did have a problem with the film though is that the script I felt could have used some. Oh yeah, and the tension was there too. I forgot to mention that. There's actually an tension, and you feel the tension between Jake Gyllenhaal's character and the woman who's like calling for help. But what I had a problem with the film though is that the script really could have used some more work, especially with the characterization and dialogue. Maybe not dialogue, but the characterization. The dialogue was fine, but the characterization really could have used some more work. It also suffers through some pacing issues here and there, and at times the film's editing choices felt a bit out of place too. But despite that, I like this movie. And I give it a 7 out of 10. And now it's time I talk about one of the best movies I've seen this year, and what is my favorite horror film I've seen in 2021. The film I'm about to talk about is called Saint Maud. Saint Maud. If you don't know what Saint Maud is, here's the story. In Saint Maud, we follow Maud, played by Morfydd Clark, a hospice nurse and a recent convert to Roman Catholicism, who becomes obsessed with a former dancer and her cure, played by Jennifer Hale. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Believing she must save her soul. I remember seeing the trailer for this in my showing of Uncut Gems a couple years ago, and I really wanted to check that one out, but then it was delayed a few times due to the pandemic, and then it to the point where it didn't get a limited theatrical release until earlier this year in January, followed by a on-demand release 2 weeks later on February 12th, 2021, which is really unfortunate because this movie, I'm not even kidding, guys, Saint Maud is one of the most chilling, powerful, and mesmerizing films I have seen this entire year. This movie terrified me from start to finish. Like, this movie was such a frightening experience from start to finish, and in a good way too. The story was fantastic. The script was absolute. We gotta talk about Rose Glass, because not only did she do a fantastic job with the way she wrote the script, especially with how she wrote the characters and the dialogue, but the way she directed the film too was absolutely amazing, especially with how she directs the tension in the film, which speaking of this, is the movie scary? Oh, hell yeah, it is. Yes. The the movie, there's not a lot of like scares in the film, but when they do hit, oh boy, they hit hard like a son of a gun. And it also has, and this movie also works because it builds on something that I really wish more horror films would do nowadays. Real tension. You feel the tension between the characters, the main character and what she goes through, and there's this one scene towards the end of the film that scared the shit out of me. I won't say what it is, but there was tension but it had me scared shitless. And speaking of the acting is absolutely terrific. Morfydd Clark as Maud was absolutely fantastic. She gives out one of the best and most powerful breakthrough performances I've seen this entire year. The musical score is one of the most haunting and powerful musical scores I've heard in the film this entire year. The cinematography is fantastic. It's very well edited, very well paced. Yes, it is a slow burn. It is a slow burn paced film, but to me it worked because of the tone and atmosphere it was trying to go for. And the way it ended, oh my god. I'm not joking. Again, without spoiling what happens, this is one of the most shocking yet powerful endings I have seen put to film this entire year. Now, if I had one minor issue with Saint Maud, I would say the film is too short. The film's 84 minutes, and I did wish they could have added like 15 more minutes of the film. But that's it. I absolutely love Saint Maud. If you're a horror fan, this is a must-watch. It's one of the best horror films I've seen this decade. It's one of the best movies I've seen this year, and it proves once again why A24 is one of the best film companies, independent film companies working today. I absolutely love this movie. It's one of the best movies I've seen this year, and I give Saint Maud a 9.5 out of 10 or an A. Alright, so that'll do it for my movie reviews. So, Søren?
As for a bit of movie news, so we all know the Criterion Collection, right?
Yes.
They're like one of the most widely regarded physical media distributors in America.
Yep.
I've always been kind of a fanatic of the Blu-rays, especially during their biannual Barnes and Noble sale.
Mm-hmm.
Now next month, it seems like after a long time of demanding, they're finally dabbling into the realm of 4K Ultra HD. So
That's great!
So next month we're going to start with the favorite Lynch movie, Mulholland Drive, followed by Citizen Kane, which needs no introduction, Mesh to Society by the guys behind the underappreciated movie Book of Eli, and Uncut Gems. Cough, Addams Family was not Cough.
Yeah, Addams Family's best performance today, and he was snubbed by the Oscars.
Then December, they're gonna do a movie called The Red Shoes?
Oh, The Red Shoes. The Red Shoes is a classic.
Then January, the Beatles movie A Hard Day's Night is getting a 4K. Then the movie I've been dying to see sometimes, The Piano.
The Piano is also a classic. It's one of it's my favorite film from Jane Campion, which she's gonna be doing another film next month that I'm really excited to see, called The Power of the Dog.
I've always wanted to see it for quite some time, but I haven't gotten around to it since the movie's been impossible to find on Amazon and eBay. But now I have no excuse to not see it.
Check it out, man.
Anyways, now to go over the best films of 2012. Now I'm doing top 15 because I felt like 2012 was kind of weak compared to the other years. Not as many masterpieces as
I'll be right back for a second. I got some 2012 films in my closet, so it'll take me a second. I'll be right back.
All right. As for my honorable mentions, I have the Pirates and the Misfits, otherwise known as Pirates and the Adventures of Sciences, Zero Dark 30, Chronicle, Amore, The Master, Life of Pi, The Amazing Spider-Man, Flight, and Wreck-It Ralph. My number 15 is Looper. Number 14, Perks of Being a Wallflower. Number 13 is Killer Joe, where William Friedkin's Killer Joe. Number 12 is Lincoln, and my number 11 is Django Unchained. Number 10, Rise of the Guardians. Again, should have won the animation Oscar. Number 9, Moonrise Kingdom. Number 8, The Raid. Number 7, Silver Linings Playbook. Number 6 is The Hunt. Number 5, Seven Psychopaths. Number 4 is Argo. My number 3 to 1 could kind of change, but for now, this is how I put it. Number 3 is Marvel's The Avengers. Number 12, The Dark Knight Rises. And number 1, The Empire Strikes Back of James Bond, Skyfall.
Alright, well, I didn't find a lot of DVDs as I thought, but I do have a top 15 best. Number 15. I don't have any honorable mentions since I didn't get a chance to fill out them, but here are my top 15 favorite films of 2012. Number 15, Robert Zemeckis' Flight. Number 14 is The Dark Knight Rises. Number 13 is Rian Johnson's Looper. Number 12, the best animated film of the year, Wreck-It Ralph. Number 11, Searching for Sugar Man, my favorite documentary film of the year. Number 10, Ang Lee's Life of Pi. Number 9, Paul Thomas Anderson. Oh wait, hold on a second. I do remember what 8 through 1 is, but oh yeah, I forgot. Number 9, Skyfall. Number 8, Paul Thomas Anderson's The Master. Number 7. Oh God, what was number 7? I'm sorry, guys. It's just I didn't have enough time to fill out the list, but I'm sorry, guys. I didn't have enough time to fill out the list, but Okay. Number 7 is the best foreign language film of the year, Amore. Number 6, Zero Dark 30. Wait. Number 7 is Moonrise Kingdom, the Wes Anderson movie. Number 6 is Zero Dark 30, directed by Catherine Bigelow. Number 5, the best foreign language film of the year, in my opinion, Amore. Number 4, Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained. Number 3, David O. Russell's Silver Linings Playbook. Number 2, Argo. And my number 1 favorite movie of 2012 is Steven Spielberg's Lincoln.
Alright, so as to close out this episode, last Halloween, you may remember episode 10, when I talked about the second worst horror movie I've ever seen, and hands down the worst remake of all time, Psycho 98.
Fuck that movie.
Well, now I figured that I might as well talk about the original movie.
I've seen the original many times before, so...
Now, I'm not super big into horror movies, but I still give credit where credit is due. And the prime example is my favorite horror movie of all time, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. So essentially, this is based on Robert Bloch's novel, and it follows Marion Crane, played by Janet Leigh, who steals some money from her real estate boss in order to pay off her boyfriend's death. On her way, she feels that the people around her are suspicious of her actions, so she hides at a local motel run by Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates, whom she finds out may have a dark secret of his own. Folks, let me say this right now. This is how this has got masterpiece.
Yes.
At least of the movies I've seen so far. From the stunning black and white cinematography that perfectly emulates the dramatic moments and shocking scenes.
Yes. And to that famous shower scene.
Yeah, I was going to mention the editing that knows how to go from slow to let the drama settle to rapid and intense during the more thrilling moments.
Absolutely.
To Bernard Herrmann's iconic score that fits with the film's dramatic tone and the twists and turns in the screenplay. Speaking of twists and turns, I gotta give credit to the film's screenwriter, Joseph Stefano. He really took some risks. At first, it looks like it's gonna be like a slow drama with some suspenseful moments, but once a certain event happens in the middle, the story takes a huge turn.
It does.
It really reminds me of Parasite and how it takes turn and hits them.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to discuss is the acting. More specifically,
the acting is fantastic.
Janet Leigh and Anthony Perkins. Janet Leigh delivers an Oscar-worthy performance as this young woman who's willing to do anything for her boyfriend, but is scared of what would happen if she got caught. And with Perkins, this truly is the performance of a lifetime.
Yes.
When you first see him, he seems like a nice guy, but once you find out more about him and his history with the motel and his mother, the more you start to question his actions. And by the end, without giving anything away, you're just like, damn, now that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what he's talking
about. Asshole.
I know what you're talking about, and not gonna give it away, but the way they handled it, I was like, wow, you're even more of a psychopath than I thought.
So overall, it's easy to say why this is such an influential film with great direction, iconic performances, and a killer soundtrack, no pun intended. I loved this movie when I first saw it, and I loved it more with subsequent viewing, which is why it's my favorite horror film of all time, one of my favorite all-time favorite movies, and one time given my rare score of an 11 out of 10.
I'm pretty much in agreement with Soren. The story was fantastic. The script by Joseph Stefano was absolutely terrific with the way he wrote the characters for the film, especially with Norman Bates' character. Like, oh man. Alfred Hitchcock also did a fantastic job with the way he directed this movie, especially with, like I stated before, with not only the tension, but with the way he directed like the scenes. Like I said before, the shower scene is one of the most iconic and scariest scenes I have seen put to film. Iconic and powerful scenes. And Bernard Herrmann's musical score was absolutely fantastic. A phenomenal musical score. I'm going to play a sample of this, but you already know how it goes. Yep. And the acting was absolutely fantastic. Janet Leigh was absolutely fantastic in this movie, but Anthony Perkins, this was the performance of a lifetime. I agree with Søren right there. How he played Norman Bates in the film was absolutely phenomenal. Like Søren stated, you see him as a nice guy first, But when you see the dark side of him, when you delve more into his character later on in the film, you're just standing there like, oh my god, what an asshole. What a psychopathic asshole. The cinematography is shot so beautifully in black and white. It still holds up to this very day. The editing was absolutely fantastic, especially with how they edited the shower scene, as I stated before. It's very well paced, and without giving anything away, the ending left me on the edge of my seat. Especially with its, well, you'll know what I'm talking about once you see it. But, yeah, I'm with Soren on this one. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life, and it's easily in my top 3, well, top 2 favorite horror films of all time. And it gets better and better and better the more I watch, the more I think about and watch this movie even more on subsequent viewings. This is easily an 11 out of 10 film. It is one of the best movies ever made, and it's one of the best horror films I've seen in my life. If you have not seen Psycho, you are doing yourself a disservice. Please watch this movie as soon as you can. Stop what you're doing and watch Psycho. That's my final take on it.
And that's it. That's it for another episode of the FilmBrony podcast. So, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Happy Halloween. Happy Day of the Dead. Celebrate them however you celebrate it. Now, if you excuse me, I got a fan to finish.
All right. Thank you all for watching this podcast. It was real fun doing this. I certainly had a lot of fun doing it, even though there was some stuff that I came unprepared for. But what are you gonna do? Hope you all have a wonderful Halloween, or however you celebrate Halloween. And until we meet again in November before Thanksgiving, for episode 2022. Hope you all have a happy Halloween and one more thing. Be sure to subscribe to Soren's YouTube channel. The link is in the description below. Give him the love he absolutely deserves, because he's a wonderful YouTuber and a great person to talk with. And until we see you all again for episode 22, hope you all have a wonderful Halloween, and until we meet again in November, so long for right now.